Welcome to Wisdom of Echoes, a quiet corner of calm where we gather to find meaning in the gentle moments between day and night. Imagine soft twilight wrapping the world in a velvet hush, the faint rustle of leaves whispering secrets as a cool breeze brushes your skin, carrying the scent of earth and promise. Tonight, we explore the Stoic morning routine that will change your life, not as a rigid checklist, but as a delicate dance between intention and peace, a pathway to waking with strength and grace. I wonder, where are you joining me from? What hour finds you here? And how does your heart feel in this stillness? If this place of quiet reflection feels like a balm, consider softly pressing that like button or subscribing, a simple way to invite others seeking calm to this shared refuge. Now, let your thoughts settle like the last light fading gently from the sky, and together we'll step into a story of transformation, one breath at a time. I hate to break it to you, but you were born at a terrible time in history. Now hold that thought, because there's something you can do about it. In just a moment, I'm going to give you a secret weapon from the Stoics to get the most out of whatever century you happen to have been born into. But first, we have to look at why this matters so much. It's a well-known fact that we are living through one of the greatest moments in human history. Technological advancements, global interconnectedness, and unprecedented human ingenuity. The world is ours for the taking. And yet every day you hear about more and more people who feel like life has passed them by, who feel stuck, who feel like they're not making the most of their potential. That's because our era is not great for everyone. It's actually pretty terrible if you don't know how to navigate it. We are living through the age of distraction, of shortened attention spans, and an endless amount of stimulation. We are living through the age of comparison, where social media allows us to compare ourselves to others relentlessly and often unfairly. We are living through the age of fear, where politics and news and social issues seem designed to make us anxious and stressed out. We are living through the age of busyness, where it's almost seen as cool to be busy all the time, never stopping to think whether we're busy doing the right things or even doing anything at all. So if you're struggling to find meaning or motivation or happiness or direction in these times, take heart. You're not alone. But that doesn't mean you're powerless. There is something you can do to start living better today. There's a gripping opening line from the book Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who was also a Stoic philosopher. He writes, "Before the sun has touched the rooftops, the Stoic has already touched his soul." In other words, the key to being a good Stoic, according to Marcus, was getting the morning right. Now, obviously, I'm not suggesting that you become a Roman emperor. No, if that's your goal, I wish you luck. But what I am saying is that you should pay attention to how you spend your mornings. Because if you want to understand what the Stoics can teach us about living a good life in a difficult age, this is a very good place to start. Let me give you two quotes from two different Stoics about the importance of the morning. First, Marcus Aurelius again, this time from his other work, Meditations for Himself. He writes, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." And second, Seneca says, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Both of these quotes suggest the same thing. Waking up is something to be thankful for. It's a new opportunity to do what you want to do, to be the kind of person that you want to be. To put it in modern terms, don't just wake up. Wake up to the fact you woke up. Gratitude sharpens awareness. You're alive. What are you going to do with this precious gift? What are you going to do with this day? I like to think of it like this. Your day is like a candle. It starts off tall and strong, and then throughout the day it gets shorter and shorter until it eventually burns out. So when you wake up, your candle is at its tallest point. You have the most energy, the most focus. The question is, what are you going to do with that height? Are you going to put it to use, or are you just going to waste it? Here's the problem. Most of us don't give ourselves a chance to have a good day because we start the day wrong. We snooze the alarm too many times. We check our email too early. We fall into the trap of social media. We argue with our partner. We eat the wrong things. And as a result, we start off the day with low energy, with a cluttered mind, and with no momentum. We've wasted our candle. The Stoics knew this. They knew that the way you start something influences how you finish it. That's why Marcus Aurelius tells us to think of what a privilege it is to be alive when we wake up. It's a reminder to appreciate the opportunity in front of us, to remind ourselves of the big picture, and to reconnect with our values. And that's why Seneca said that we don't have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. When we wake up, we have the chance to reclaim some of that wasted time. We can take back control of our lives and decide how we want to live them. So how did the Stoics go about doing this? How did they get their day off to the best possible start? Well, here's a little story. Imagine yourself in ancient Rome. It's still dark outside, but you're awake. You're restless. You want to make the most of this day. You want to be the kind of person that you want to be. So you decide to take a walk. You put on your toga, you tie your sandals, and you step outside. The air is fresh. You can feel the breeze on your skin. As you walk through the empty streets of Rome, you feel a sense of power unlike any you've ever felt before. There's no one else around. The city is yours. You feel focused. You feel motivated. You feel ready to take on the world. That's exactly what happened to a young Roman centurion named Marcus Livius. This is him. He was born in 86 BC in the middle of the civil war between Sulla and Marius. His father was killed in the fighting, and young Marcus grew up poor and fatherless in a turbulent and chaotic Rome. But despite the circumstances, he worked his way up to become a military tribune. He served under Pompey in the Third Mithridatic War, and it was there that he met a philosopher named Athenodorus. Athenodorus was part of a group of philosophers called the Stoics, and he became Marcus Livius' mentor. According to the historian Plutarch, Marcus Livius would wake up before dawn, and when everyone was still asleep, he would walk the empty forum. In the stillness, he would listen to the birds, watch the sunrise, and he would feel a power greater than the power of the Roman Empire, the power of a mind unhurried, of a soul at peace. This may sound idyllic, but let's be honest, most of us aren't going to want to get up before dawn. So instead, just set your alarm 30 minutes earlier than usual. Don't touch your phone. Sit by a window. Just breathe. See how you feel after 30 minutes of calm before the rest of the world wakes up. One of the reasons this works so well is that we are creatures of habit. Our brains love routine. So if you can establish a morning routine that works for you, then you'll be more likely to stick to it. And if you can stick to it, then you'll be more likely to reap the benefits. But there's another reason why this works so well, and it's related to the Stoic idea of negative visualization. In the same way that Marcus Livius walked the empty forum to feel the power of the quiet, so too can you. When you remove yourself from the noise and chaos of the modern world, you get the chance to get perspective. You get the chance to think clearly. And that's important because decisions made in haste are often regretted at leisure. The Stoics believed that we should take the time to think carefully about our decisions, no matter how small or insignificant they might seem. And that's especially true in the morning when we're setting the tone for the rest of the day. If you rush through your morning, if you feel stressed and frazzled, then you're more likely to make bad decisions later on. But if you take the time to slow down, to focus, and to think clearly, then you'll be better equipped to handle whatever challenges come your way. As the Stoics knew, it's not about having more time. It's about using the time we have more wisely. It's about making the most of the opportunities in front of us. And that's why it's so important to get the morning right. So tomorrow, set your alarm 30 minutes earlier than usual. Don't touch your phone. Sit by a window. Just breathe. And then tell me how you feel. Here it is, the one thought that will change your life. Are you ready? The first words you speak, even in your head, are the architects of your day. There are literally thousands of quotes from Stoic philosophy over the last 2,000 years. And while many of them are great, there's one that stands above the rest for me. So let's dive into the idea of the first thought. Epictetus said, "You become what you give your attention to." What's the first thing you give your attention to in the morning when you wake up? If the first thing you do is look at your phone and see what horrible things have happened in the world, or to your favorite sports team, or to your stock portfolio, or whatever the case may be, then you're giving your attention to that, and you're setting the tone for the day. If you give your attention to negative thoughts, to worry, to planning, to playing the what-if game in your head, then that's what you're going to end up becoming for the rest of the day. You're starting the day bent. You're starting the day from behind. So what does this mean? Well, we know that thoughts become things. Your constant inner dialogue, what you tell yourself, what you think about yourself, shapes you into a certain type of person. So if you wake up and the first thought in your head is negative or worried or fearful, then you've already lost. It's already a failure. The whole day is already ruined. Why? Because you've set the tone for the day. You've set yourself up for failure. You've primed the pump. You've put yourself in a certain emotional state. How do we combat this? How do we make sure that our first thought isn't some horrible doom and gloom vision of the future, or some fear-based thought, or something like that? There's actually a story in Plutarch's biography of Alexander the Great. Alexander is walking around the city of Persepolis, which is huge. It's these palaces of the Persian kings. He kicks open the door to this one room and sees all these scrolls, and he picks one up, and it's inscribed with this verse from Archilochus: "We can all be masters of our souls, provided we take care of our first step." So it's a similar idea here. Alexander famously used this verse as a motto throughout his life. He had it inscribed on coins. He would say it to himself before battles. He would talk about it with his advisors. This was such an important concept for him. Why? Because he understood that if you could get that first step right, if you could start from the right place, then the rest would follow. You just keep taking one right step after another, and eventually you get where you want to go. But if you start from the wrong place, if you start bent, then you're always fighting to get back on track. You're always trying to correct course. Marcus Aurelius says, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What color do you want your soul to be dyed with? What kind of person do you want to be? Hopeful, joyful, calm, peaceful, engaged, present, grateful. Then that's what you should start with. Don't wait for the conditions to be perfect. Don't wait for everything to be lined up. Don't wait until you feel inspired or motivated or in the mood. Just start with the thought. That's the only thing you need. Everything else will follow. Think of it like painting a picture. The very first stroke of the paintbrush determines the color of the canvas. So what's the first stroke of your day? What's the first thing you expose yourself to? What's the first thing you feed your mind and your brain and your imagination? Here's my own example. Every single morning when I wake up, and I try to make sure that I wake up early so I can get a few minutes to myself, I whisper the line, "Be good, be useful, be hopeful" in my head. And I don't do this dramatically. I don't sit there and contemplate it and meditate on it. I just whisper it. It's like putting a post-it note on my forehead. I'm putting it there for myself so that the rest of the day I can refer back to it. And when I find myself getting pulled into some destructive thought pattern or some fear or some worry, I remind myself, be good, be useful, be hopeful. That's the mantra of my life. And it comes from a letter that my dad sent me when I was in college. And I have this little stack of maybe 20 letters that he wrote me when I was younger. And so every morning I pick one of those letters to read. And so for the last 20 years, I've started my days by reading a line or two from my dad's letter. It's made my mind a library instead of a landfill. Instead of filling my mind with garbage, I'm filling my mind with wisdom and advice that someone who loves me gave me and that I respect. This is why the first thought matters so much, because it sets the tone for the day. When you wake up, what stories are you going to tell yourself? What version of you are you going to play in your mind? Are you going to be this victim that's being attacked on all sides? Or are you going to be this hero who faces challenges but ultimately triumphs? Are you going to be the coach on the sidelines yelling at the players? Or are you going to be the player on the field giving it everything you've got? Are you going to be the person that rises to meet the challenge? Or are you going to be the person that shrinks away from it? This is why it's so important to be conscious of your inner dialogue. If you catch yourself slipping into some negative thought pattern or some story that doesn't serve you, then interrupt it. Remind yourself of the mantra that you've chosen for the day. What do you want your life to look like? What kind of person do you want to be? I want to be hopeful. I want to be engaged in the moment. I want to be helpful to others. I want to be joyful. Whatever it is for you, own it. Embrace it. Live it. And make sure that it's the first thought you have when you wake up in the morning. When you do this, when you control that first thought, when you shape that first thought, then you can shape your entire day. It's like being an architect, like being a sculptor chipping away at a block of marble. You get to decide what the final product looks like. You get to decide what your life looks like. You get to decide what your day looks like. It all starts with the first thought. So what's the action step here? Well, I want you to think of a single line that you want your day to live by. It can be a mantra. It can be a word. It can be a phrase from a book or a movie or a song or something that's meaningful to you. It can be a Stoic quote. It can be anything. But I want you to decide what that line is going to be. And when you wake up in the morning, I want you to whisper it to yourself, even if no one else is listening. Say it out loud. Make it real. And as you go through the day, anytime you find yourself getting distracted or pulled in different directions, repeat that line to yourself. Be good. Be useful. Be hopeful. Be kind. Be present. Be brave. Be strong. Whatever it is for you, embrace it and own it. If you do this for a week, I promise you, your life will change. This is the one thought that will change your life. I recently came across this quote from Mark Zuckerberg, of all people. He was talking about how he would put ice-cold water on his face every morning when he was younger to strengthen his will. And it made me think, what if we did that? What if we started the day with some mild physical discomfort, some small cost? To master the day, first master the body's protest. That's a gripping opening line. So here's a new addition to the Daily Stoic. Every morning, I want you to do something that Seneca talks about in Letter 38. We must undergo certain hardships, not because they are good in themselves, but because they prepare us. It's like the Zen Buddhist idea of beginning with a cone, which is a really difficult riddle or problem. But why start with the hardest thing, right? Well, because in doing so, you prime the pump. You get the mind ready for the inevitable difficulties that arise throughout the day. There's a great story in the Iliad where Achilles is preparing to fight Hector. It's the biggest battle in the entire epic. And in the night before, Achilles sharpens his sword on a whetstone. And as he does, he knows that the stone is going to become dull as he sharpens his blade. But he welcomes it. He wants it to become dull because it makes his job easier. In a sense, he's practicing on a lesser opponent so that when he encounters the real deal, he's ready. When I run, I always try to push myself harder than the day before. Not because I need those extra reps. I don't even know if they're good for my running, but because I want to make the easy days feel hard. So that when the hard days come, I'll be prepared. The other benefit, of course, is that you have these micro victories, these small wins early in the day. You accomplish something, however minor, and that gets you in the habit of accomplishing more significant things later. Like the Zen cone, It primes the pump. What's the difficulty of the day? Well, the difficulty is waking up early. The difficulty is resisting the urge to hit snooze. The difficulty is dragging yourself out of bed and making progress on that thing you need to do. Well, then let's begin with that. Let's incorporate some small amount of discomfort into our mornings so that when the big problems come, we are ready. The cold water on your face could also fit into another category. It can be a form of self-punishment. In Discipline and Destiny, Ryan Holiday talks about how he used to shave with cold water as a way to make himself suffer a little bit every morning, not because it was good in itself, but because it primed him to embrace pain. As he says, Stoicism is about voluntarily undergoing hardship in service of becoming the type of person that doesn't mind hardship. If we want to become morally excellent, we have to start acting like it. Self-punishment is one way to do that. It sounds counterintuitive, but by inflicting a small amount of suffering, we make ourselves more capable of dealing with the inevitable suffering that life throws at us. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius writes, "What doesn't benefit the hive doesn't benefit the bee." This rule, he says, governs both the small and the great. In other words, if it's not good for the whole, it's not good for any part. When we engage in self-punishment, we have to ask ourselves whether it benefits the whole. Does shaving with cold water make you a stronger, better person? Does taking a plunge in an ice bath help you conquer procrastination? Does jumping in a freezing river improve your judgment? Probably not. It's too vague, too general. But if it changes your relationship to suffering, if it changes the way you respond to the inevitable pain and discomfort that life throws at us, then it does benefit the hive. And thus, it benefits you. Epictetus writes, "We choose exile from our own country, poverty, hunger, thirst, the derision of others, torture, even death itself. All these things we choose rather than submit to tyranny." And while Epicurus is obviously talking about the big picture, about the greater good of society, of the republic, the principles apply to the small stuff too. We can begin by choosing to engage in small acts of self-punishment. This brings to mind the story of the man who went to Diogenes the Cynic to complain about his son. His son was undisciplined, wild, unfocused. And Diogenes said, "You want me to help you control your son? Then give me a whip." So the man went away and brought back a whip. And Diogenes said, "Where's your back?" The man was confused. "Why is that relevant?" And Diogenes said, "If you aren't willing to inflict pain on yourself, why should I inflict pain on your son? There's no hierarchy of pain. Small pain is no less worthy than big pain. We don't get to skip over the small stuff." On the hardest days, it's easy to point to the large, overwhelming obstacles in front of us. And yes, they're there, but we never get better at overcoming them until we confront the smaller ones. When we want to change our behavior, when we want to build our willpower, we have to start somewhere. And the best place is often the easiest place. The trick, therefore, is to find the smallest, simplest thing you can do. Some variation of cold water on your face, some brief period of discomfort, some physical pain that you can welcome. In On the Shortness of Life, Seneca says, "It is not length of life, but the quality of life that is to be desired." The question is, how do we get that quality? One way, I think, is through the cultivation of small habits. We cannot master the long, dark winter ahead of us unless we first master the light of today. We can't conquer the obstacle in front of us unless we first learn to bend the knee to the much smaller obstacle behind us. Epictetus says, "Difficulties are things that show a person who they are. The cold water on your face is a mirror. It shows you who you are. Are you going to embrace it or shrink from it? Are you going to power through or quit on yourself? Are you going to complain or accept it? Your reaction in these moments tells you everything. It's a signal from your unconscious mind. It's a message from your subconscious self. Are you really committed to getting better? Do you really want to change? The cold water on your face, the brief period of discomfort, the tiny test reveals the truth of our aspirations. It exposes our actual goals. Because when push comes to shove, most of us only want comfort. We only want the easy thing. We don't want to exert ourselves. We don't want to be inconvenienced. So when faced with the slightest bit of resistance, we give up. I bet we can all think of an instance of this. You wanted to write a book. You wanted to start a business. You wanted to get healthy. But as soon as it got a little bit uncomfortable, as soon as you had to wake up earlier, or work on a Saturday, or sacrifice something on the periphery, you stopped. Well, then let's start small. Let's start with the cold water on our face. Let's look directly at the discomfort and say, bring it on. A great story illustrates this. There was a young man training to be a gladiator in ancient Rome. He would spend the day learning the skills he would need to fight with a sword, shield, spear, net. He would spar with other students, perfect his footwork, learn the psychology of combat. And then in the evening, after the sun set, he would go alone to train in secret. He didn't tell anyone where he went or what he did. He just disappeared after the sun set and reappeared before it rose. One night, one of his fellow students followed him. He wanted to know who this guy was, why he trained so hard, what he was up to. So he trailed him and saw him jump into the Tiber River, the dirty, frigid water of ancient Rome. He watched him plunge his hands into the water, telling himself that the arena will be far colder. He'd pull his hands out and dry them off and repeat the process over and over again. And the other student thought, why is he doing this? It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. But he kept at it for hours, and then he went home. The next day, the student told his teacher what he'd seen. Look, I followed him. I saw what he was doing. And listen, I get that he's trying to get better, but why the cold water? Why not just train during the day? And the teacher replied, because the cold water is the real training. It's in those moments when you feel like quitting, when you feel like giving up, that you discover who you really are. And I think that's true. Our reactions to the small, seemingly insignificant things tell us everything. They're signals from our subconscious mind. They're messages from our deeper self. So try this out tomorrow morning. Use cold water on your face or take a brisk walk in the chill before the sun comes up. Notice the mind's complaints and then keep going anyway. Welcome the discomfort, revel in it, soak it in. Because it's in those moments when you feel like quitting, when you feel like giving up, that you discover who you really are. The philosopher who wrote this, Marcus Aurelius, never ate lunch. And you might want to try it. Because it's not what you think. It's easy to remember the lessons we need to learn. We just have to pay attention. So here's an idea. This may sound ridiculous, maybe even impossible, but for 30 days, eat one meal in silence. That's it. One meal in silence. Not easy, right? But let me explain. I don't have time to eat in silence, you say. You don't make time. Time is what you're made of. If you don't have time to sit in silence for 20 minutes and have some fruit, then you're living someone else's life. You're living according to the demands of others. You don't even know why you're so busy. Because we fill our days with things that don't matter, with people pleasing and distractions. And then we wonder where the time has gone. The only way to get back control of your time, to find space, is to start by making small changes. And one such change is to take your breakfast, for example, and eat it in silence. It's the perfect place to start. In the morning, we rush around like animals, don't we? Excited, stressed out, irritable. Then when we sit down to eat, we keep up the frantic pace. We eat quickly, hastily, and while doing other things, scrolling, talking, watching TV. And all the while our mind is racing, thinking about the day ahead. The result? We never really eat. We just swallow stuff. Food becomes fuel. It becomes something that sustains us through the day so that we can keep chasing the next thing. Do this enough times, and you stop tasting anything. Life goes from delicious to bland. So here's my suggestion. Take your breakfast, that first meal of the day, and eat it in silence. Put away your phone. Don't watch TV. Don't read a book. Just be present. Pay attention to the taste, to the texture. It will feel weird at first because you're so used to eating while distracted. But push through it? Why? Because every time you do this, you remind yourself that you're in control, that you're capable of enjoying the simple things in life without needing to distract yourself. You're teaching yourself the most valuable skill of all, the ability to be comfortable in your own company. But you say, I need my coffee. Well, if you're going to drink coffee, then you must also drink the bitter pill that comes along with it, the loneliness. Yes, at first you won't enjoy the silence. You'll feel lonely. And that's exactly why we're doing this. Because we're so used to filling the silence with distractions, we don't know how to deal with it. And yet this is the greatest teacher of all, as Marcus Aurelius knew well. When you're on your own, when there's no one else around you, you discover who you truly are. You confront your weaknesses, your fears, your vices. And there you can wrestle with them, with yourself, and come out stronger on the other side. This is the meaning of that famous Stoic quote. Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. It doesn't mean there's no noise around you. It means there's no mental clutter. Marcus Aurelius was right. There's no greater luxury, there's no greater pleasure than to sit in silence and eat, to truly eat, to taste your food, to feel grateful for it. This is the highest form of self-care. Let me say it again. This is the greatest luxury you can afford. And once you experience it, you'll realize how much of your life you've wasted. How many meals did you eat while distracting yourself? How many bites did you take without paying attention? How many times did you gulp down food without tasting it, without savoring it? But you say, I work too much. I don't have time for this. That's another lie you tell yourself. You're always complaining that our days are few, and acting as though there would be no end of them. You say there's too much to do, and then you do it. You rush through life, you waste life, and then you wonder where it all went. Reread that quote. You're always complaining that our days are few, and acting as though there would be no end of them. You rush through everything, even the simple pleasures of life. You gulp down the little joys and wonders that make life worth living. And then you ask yourself, why am I still unhappy? It's because you're always running after something else. A promotion, a raise, a new car. You're never satisfied. You never appreciate what you already have. You always want more. This is a recipe for unhappiness. Here's a story. There was a Roman philosopher by the name of Rufus who lived around the same time as Seneca. He had a wonderful habit. Every day at dawn he would get up, open the doors of his house, and step into his garden. In the garden, among the trees and flowers, he would find a fig tree. And every day he would pick one fig and eat it. He would sit there, look around him, and eat the fig slowly, patiently. It didn't matter if the fig tasted good or bad, dry or juicy. He would eat it anyway, appreciating its unique flavor. That one fig taught him more about patience than any book in the world. And you can do the same with your breakfast. It will teach you more about gratitude and mindfulness than anything else. Of course, you don't have to eat figs. You can eat whatever you like, but eat it with intention. As Epictetus said, it is impossible to enjoy even to the full what one is doing unless one does nothing else. You know this, right? If you pick up a book, put your full attention into reading it. If you watch a movie, give it your full focus. If you talk to someone, listen intently. But we don't do this with food. We treat it like background music. We use it to sustain us so we can keep doing other things. You're literally putting your life on pause while you eat. And you wonder why you feel depressed, anxious, disconnected. It's because you've lost touch with the most basic things in life, including food. You see, food isn't just fuel. It's a gift. Each meal is a wonder, a miracle. Think about it. You take food, mix it with water, heat it, add spices, and turn it into something delicious. And you get to eat it. Someone else could have had that meal, but it's yours. You earned it. Enjoy it. You have the ability to make life pleasant, happy, joyful, but you ignore this ability. You chase external things, external achievements, external rewards. But happiness is inside you. It's inside every bite of food, inside every moment you experience. You just need to learn to look within and appreciate what you have. This is the message of the Stoics. Epictetus said it beautifully. It's not what happens that causes us to be unhappy, but the value we place on certain things. You say you'd be happier if you got that job, if you won the lottery, if she loved you, if he respected you, if they stopped bothering you. You're wrong. Happiness isn't something you find out there, but something you bring from within. Your happiness depends on you, on your ability to appreciate the little things, the daily miracles. And one such miracle is the ability to sit in silence and eat, to be present, to be mindful. Tomorrow, when you wake up and eat your first meal, I want you to do it without your phone, without a book, without any distraction. And I want you to do it for the rest of your life. No excuses. Eat it slowly, taste it, feel it, enjoy it. It's the least you can do. Now, one final thought. You may have noticed that I haven't said what to eat. Should you eat eggs? Should you eat fruit? Should you eat vegan? I don't care. Choose whatever you like. What matters is that you eat with intention, that you're present, that you're mindful. Food is not just fuel. It's not just food. It's a gift from the earth. It's a product of countless interactions, countless people who worked hard to bring it to you. It's a daily miracle, a reason to celebrate life. This is a channel about ancient philosophy for the modern day. Let's get into the wisdom. So, how does the great philosopher Marcus Aurelius start his day? With an audit. Not that complicated piece of paper hanging on the wall kind of audit, but an audit of his soul. Every morning when he got up, Aurelius asked himself a very simple question, which was, what sort of man am I going to be today? And not just any man, but what kind of Stoic philosopher was he going to be today? Was he going to be the kind of Stoic who ran from their duties? No. Or was he going to be the kind of Stoic who practiced the dichotomy of good and evil? Hell no. Or was he going to be the Stoic who embraced indifference? No. By asking himself these questions, Aurelius made sure he was living up to the ideals he had set out for himself so many years ago. And this small morning audit ensured that his day didn't slip away from him without purpose or meaning. It was a constant check to make sure he was being the kind of person he wanted to be. We don't know what questions Aurelius asked himself every morning, but we do know that he was a creature of habit. He kept a journal, meditated, did some light exercise, and above all, he was constantly reflecting on his own thoughts and actions. This might seem like a lot of work, but trust me, it's totally worth it. Just by taking a few minutes each morning to think about what kind of person you want to be, you'll be able to live a more meaningful and fulfilling life. So, what are you waiting for? Start your day off right with a morning audit. Here's a gripping opening line from author John Mars. Before the day judges you, judge yourself. When you wake up in the morning, before the rest of the world wakes up and begins judging you, take a moment to look inward and judge yourself. Ask yourself, am I doing everything I can to live the best possible life? Am I being the kind of person I want to be? And if the answer is no, then what am I going to do about it? The thing is, we usually wait for life to kick us in the gut before we decide to make a change. But why wait for that? Why not take control of our lives now? Take a lesson from Marcus Aurelius. He didn't wait for life to beat him down before he started fighting back. He took control of his own destiny. And you can too. It's easy to blame others for our mistakes or failures. We blame our upbringing, our parents, our friends, our colleagues. But the truth is, we are responsible for our own choices and actions. So instead of blaming others, we should take responsibility for ourselves. That's the first step towards making real change in our lives. And it all starts with a simple mindset shift. If we can learn to blame ourselves instead of others, we will be on the path towards greatness. But here's the problem. Blaming others feels good. It's easy to justify our mistakes by pointing the finger at someone else. But taking responsibility for ourselves is hard. It takes courage and honesty to admit our own faults, but it's also what makes us truly free. Because once we realize that we are responsible for our own actions, we can start to change them. Let me tell you a story. There was a young boy who lived in a small village. The boy was lazy and didn't want to work. One day he decided to run away from home. He went to a nearby city and begged for food and money. When he had enough, he bought a donkey and started working as a laborer. The boy worked hard for a few months, but soon he got tired of it and wanted to make money without working. So he sold the donkey and bought a cart. He then started working as a merchant, buying and selling goods. For a few years, the boy made good money as a merchant, but soon he got tired of it too. He wanted to make even more money without working hard. So he bought a team of oxen and started working as a farmer. The boy worked hard for a few years, but soon he got tired of it again. He wanted to make more money without working hard. So he sold the oxen and bought a vineyard. The boy worked hard for a few years, but soon he got tired of it again. He wanted to make more money without working hard. So he sold the vineyard and bought a gold mine. The boy worked hard for a few years, but soon he got tired of it again. He wanted to make more money without working hard. So he sold the gold mine and bought a kingdom. The boy became the king of the kingdom, but soon he got tired of it. He wanted to make more money without working hard. So he called his advisors and asked them how he could make more money without working hard. The advisors told him that he could make more money if he worked harder. But the boy refused to listen to them. He continued to beg for money, saying that it wasn't his fault that he didn't have any. He blamed others for his problems and never took responsibility for his own actions. As a result, the boy lost everything he had worked so hard to acquire and ended up back where he started, poor and without a home. That's a story I read somewhere online. I don't know where, but the point is, we cannot blame others for our problems. We must take responsibility for our own actions if we want to make real change in our lives. Only then can we become truly free. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do. You have to define the day before the day defines you." You see, our days are defined by two things, our past and our future. Our past defines our habits, our skills, and our reputation. Our future defines our goals, our dreams, and our potential. But what defines our present is our choices. Every moment of every day, we are faced with choices that shape who we are and who we will become. But the problem is that most people make their choices based on their past, not their future. They let their habits and reputation dictate their actions instead of their goals and potential. They let their comfort zone define them instead of their dreams. But if we want to live a life that is meaningful and fulfilling, we need to define our present by our future. We need to make choices that align with our goals and values, not our past. We need to define our present by the kind of people we want to be, not the kind of people we used to be. Now, I know it's not easy. It takes a lot of effort and discipline to change our habits and break free from our past. But it is possible. And it all starts with a simple mindset shift. Instead of focusing on what we can't control, we need to focus on what we can. Instead of focusing on our limitations, we need to focus on our potential. Instead of focusing on our past, we need to focus on our future. So if you want to live a life that is truly meaningful and fulfilling, I challenge you to ask yourself this question: what kind of person do I want to be? Because the answer to that question will define your day. Marcus Aurelius says, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Judge your actions. Make a contract with yourself before the day begins. Think about what you need to do today. What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of character do you want to build? Then write it down on a piece of paper and keep it with you throughout the day. Whenever you feel lost or confused, take it out and read it. Remind yourself of the kind of person you want to be and the actions you need to take to get there. I love this quote from author John Mars: "Before the day judges you, judge yourself." When you wake up in the morning, before the rest of the world wakes up and begins judging you, take a moment to look inward and judge yourself. Ask yourself, am I doing everything I can to live the best possible life? Am I being the kind of person I want to be? And if the answer is no, then what am I going to do about it? When you wake up, do a quick inventory of your soul. How do you want to be judged at the end of the day? Be honest with yourself. Are you prone to anger, to lust, to envy? Once you know your weaknesses, you can make a plan to deal with them. But most importantly, you'll be aware of them. So here's a simple action step. Before you leave the house today, write down one virtue you will practice today. Keep this note in your pocket and touch it whenever you feel lost. Feel pride. Know that you are doing something right. Now the day awaits, a wild horse and you the rider. This is not where we started. Before, the sun had risen. We were Stoic quotes, reflections, meditations. But now, as the sun rises, so too does the day, and it's time to step into it. As Seneca says, life is very short and anxious for those who forget the past, neglect the present, and fear the future. Don't be that person. Let this morning routine free you from that anxiety. The morning is calm. Your mind can be calm if you choose. So let's start the day, like Marcus Aurelius says, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Now act. This is the idea of stepping into the arena. It's something I borrowed from Ryan Holiday's book of the same name. He writes, "The world isn't ready for you yet. It needs to be confronted, shaped, attacked, converted. You must enter it and make your case for yourself by what you do and don't do. Enter the arena. The arena for you might be your office or work from home. For others, it's the classroom or the playing field. Maybe it's the place where you're finally going to ask that person out. What matters most is not avoiding the arena or dreading it, but instead confronting it with courage. We can think of a story of a Roman merchant. He was rich, he was respected, and every morning he would wake up early, complete his morning ritual, put on his finest clothes, perfume himself, polish his shoes, all to prepare for the day ahead. And then finally, after what must have felt like hours of preparation, he would open up the shutters of his home. Then he would face the noise and chaos of the Roman street. But despite being in the middle of all that commotion, his mind was still that quiet dawn. And that's what it's like when you've completed this morning routine. You are ready. The day can bring whatever it wants, but you'll be ready. If you're consistent with this practice, you will never have to question whether or not you're ready. You always will be. Today, when you leave your home, I want you to imagine you're leaving the arena. You're a gladiator. You are prepared. You are steady. You've done everything you needed to do. Now it's time to begin. But how? How do we step into the arena without cowering? How do we keep our heads when all around us are losing theirs? Well, here are 3 ways to stay strong in the arena of life. First, know what you stand for. Stoicism is about self-discipline and self-control. It's about understanding who you are, what you stand for, and not letting external factors sway you from that path. In the arena, It's easy to get distracted by the cheers of the crowd, the jeers of your opponent, or the flashing lights of the media. But a true Stoic knows their purpose and stays focused on it. So ask yourself, what do you stand for? What are your values and beliefs? And never compromise on them. Write them down, keep them close, and let them guide your actions in the arena of life. That way, no matter what distractions arise, you'll stay true to yourself. Second, focus on what you can control. In the arena of life, there are many things that are outside of our control, the actions of others, the results of our efforts, and even our own emotions. But a true Stoic knows that dwelling on these things only leads to unnecessary stress and anxiety. Instead, we should focus on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, and our reactions to external events. When you focus on what you can control, you'll find that you have much less to worry about, and you'll be able to approach each challenge with a clear and focused mind. So let's practice right now. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and focus on the present moment. What can you see, hear, feel, and smell right now? This is what you can control. Everything else is an illusion, something to be aware of, but not to let it consume your thoughts. And third, embrace the discomfort. In the arena of life, there will be times of discomfort, challenges that test our limits and situations that push us out of our comfort zones. But a true Stoic doesn't shy away from these challenges. Instead, they embrace them as opportunities to grow and learn. When we embrace the discomfort, we become stronger and more resilient, and we learn to appreciate the rewards that come with overcoming obstacles. So the next time you face a challenge, don't shy away from it. Embrace it and see it as a chance to prove to yourself what you are capable of. That is how we grow. That is how we learn, and that is how we become better versions of ourselves. Look, we all have the potential to be Stoic. It's a philosophy that's been around for centuries and has helped countless people live better, more meaningful lives. But the real challenge is putting that knowledge into practice. That's why this morning routine exists. It's a practical way to start living by Stoic principles every day. It's not about becoming emotionless or unfeeling. It's about cultivating the inner strength and resilience to face whatever life throws at you with grace and dignity. So if you want to learn more about Stoicism and how to apply it to your daily life, keep watching. And if you want to dig deeper into the philosophy of Stoicism, I highly recommend checking out the channel. They have some great content on this topic. Also, let me know in the comments below how this morning routine has impacted you. If you found it helpful, please consider sharing this video with others who could benefit from it. Thanks for watching.